War Eagle, War Rapport family, I'm your host, C-Dub. Tonight, the fellas are all here to discuss the NCAA's latest ruling concerning NIL and what that means for college sports moving forward. All that and more in tonight's Mid-Week Rapport. War Eagle, everyone. War Eagle, War Eagle. Happy Wednesday. Happy Hump Day. Welcome to the latest episode of the Mid-Week Rapport, brought to you by our show sponsor, auburnsports.com. Head on over there for your latest regarding recruiting and all things Auburn athletics. Thanks to JG Tate for his continuous support of our show. We appreciate you, brother. Also, all the fellas are here, as you can see. And we hope you guys are, as you're filling in, we appreciate you watching with us, whether it's live or on replay. We appreciate you. We need you to help us, though. We need you to do something for us. We need you to share this video on social medias. Please using your hashtag, Get Your Weight Up. Help people find our content. Help us to grow our community. Speaking of community, you need to become a patron. Ike?
Yeah, you absolutely need to do it, man. You need to get on board. The patrons already know what's up. We just dropped for you all Monday our interview with the man, Derek Brown. The rest of you all tomorrow is when you get to hear that interview, because, you know, you're not a member of the War Rapport. I tried to tell y'all we had big things coming. This is just the first of many. It's the month of May, and May showers bring April flowers, June, whatever. Anyway, just come on board. I screwed that up. But yeah, so become a patron, man, so you can come on board with all this great content we got dropping. We have so much more in store for you all, so make sure you lock in with us there. The Lee County Humane Society is where we are doing our charitable donation deal, so you need to get on board with that as well, so you can come over and you can make yourself known as one of those people who love animals. So you can come on board with what we got going on with that. The link is in the About section of the YouTube channel, as well as on our website. You just hit that GoFundMe link and you can get all of this stuff that you need as far as just giving a donation over to the Lee County Humane Society, man. We appreciate all of that. Today and every broadcast, we give away something. I think today I'm going to do... Let's do a coffee mug, man. We haven't done a coffee mug in a while. We need to do one of the color change mugs soon, but this is just a normal one. Maybe next time we'll do a color change mug. But this time, normal coffee mug. Get your weight up, hashtagged in the comments, and you can get on board with getting yourself one of these wonderful mugs. GWT2 Energy Consulting Services, as always, is the wonderful sponsor that makes sure that these things can continue to happen. So make sure you hashtag Get Your Weight Up in the comments to get that on and popping. The War Rapport has a podcast, and we are doing wonderful things over there as well with podcast exclusive content. So the only way you're going to know about that is if you get us in whatever space that you normally download your podcast, listen to your podcast, stream your podcast, whatever you're doing. The War Rapport is likely there. Got so much in store for you all with that as well. As always, it is the season for chilling out. The spring. Relax. Let the soothing tones of Ike Jones' voice take you into a different place. And grab you some stuff from the Rogue Shop, man. Code Rapport is what you need to be able to do to make sure they know the War Rapport sent you over there. We appreciate all of that patronage. Yeah.
Appreciate that. All right, fellas, how y'all doing, man?
Bad.
Hump day.
Right. You know, not bad.
Not
Can't
bad.
complain.
How's Daddy Duty be?
Oh man, I don't even want to talk about what happened in my house the last few days, man. It was wild.
Poop
It was wild.
everywhere. I don't even know how I got
everywhere.
It's been a crappy week.
Crappy last few days, man. But we made it past it. You know what I'm saying? I'm deep cleaning everything as we speak, getting back to normal. But you know what I'm saying? It's all a part of it. You know what I'm saying? Can't complain. And I'm glad to be back. I'm on for the whole show. The whole show.
That's right.
That's right.
All right. Well, good deal. Well, let's talk about it, guys. The talk of college sports has been NIL for over the past year, and we knew it was coming. Less than a year. We'll get to you, Mike G. Mike G is pointing at himself. There will be plenty of time for Mike G to do his victory lap and gloat. So I would definitely have made concessions for you to do that.
So let's make sure we get to that.
We will definitely do that. But the NCAA on Monday cracked down on NIL even further, and we'll read off what the interim NIL new policy is, and we got some takeaways from the updated rules. So I'll let you guys know. We'll talk about the first bullet point that we got from the interim NIL policy. First point is boosters and or collectives are not allowed to contact recruits or compensate athletes contingent upon a player's enrollment or performance at a particular institution. Now, collectives, help me out, fellas. An example of a collective would be like NIL Auburn, correct?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And so they are not allowed to actually contact recruits directly or compensate them as an incentive for signing their letter of intent with the university, right? So this has been kind of what coaches have been pushing for, administrators have been pushing for, to kind of combat some of the things we've seen in college sports. There's also been accusations of things like tampering. We've heard a few head coaches' names being thrown in the mix, a few players' names been thrown into the mix of allegations of tampering. Guys announcing they're entering the portal, but committing the next day to another school, leading to suspicions of such. It seems like the spirit or the letter of the law finally caught up to the spirit of the law, which the intent was for guys to just profit off their name, image, and likeness, not auctioning off players to the highest bidder, right? So, B. Will, I'll start with you. How much does this help or address some of the problems that was introduced with allowing NIL?
I think very little, honestly, and the reason is because people just can't be as blatant with it, is what it is. What the major changes I think you'll see are somebody's going to make that formal announcement where they get the graphic done and they put here are my plans to transfer, and I think those back channels to the place where they want to go are still going to be active, and those are the players that the current player who's transferring, the players he knows on the teams that he's looking at. The contact, because a lot of programs have this, the person who's not actually a member of the program, he's not on their payroll, but he still does work for the program. He still talks to recruits. He still, kind of is an advisory person to kind of steer recruits one way or another. And those people will still be active channels to the places that a recruit wants to go. If this recruit is good enough, he will have some of those people more than likely reaching out to his friends and family if they just even hear a whisper that he wants to leave. A lot of the things that went on under the surface behind closed doors 5 years ago that were against NCAA rules, they still happened. They just weren't overt. They weren't extremely visible. Now that the NCAA is defining what is clearly against the rules, people will now take a step back for sure. They'll clean up the presentation of what they're doing. The place that the kid wants to go is going to talk to somebody and say, hey, listen, yeah, they're interested. Don't make any announcements or anything. Just say you're going to get in the portal. We'll be in contact. All right. Yeah, we're getting it all set up. We're gonna clear. They're gonna clear a roster spot. A couple dudes that's been acting up. They're gonna get rid of it because you priority number one. That's it. It's giving some shape and some form to it, so that there will look like a formal process. There will look like a process where the recruit had to make some hard decisions, but it will still be the same thing, at least as far as transfer tampering. With NIL, I don't know how many degrees of separation need to be created, and I'll have to read the rules more thoroughly, the new announcement more thoroughly, because I have not yet. So I'm looking forward to do that as we cover it today. I want to know exactly what boosters or collectives mean. How they've got to define that very carefully.
I have a definition that I researched that
Okay.
people have been stating. A booster is any third-party entity that promotes an athletics program, assists with recruiting, or assists with providing benefits to recruits, enrolled student athletes, or their family members.
Okay.
Now, a collective is a third party designed to funnel name, image, and likeness deals to prospective student athletes or enrolled athletes who might be considering transferring.
Right. So, with that being stated, I think that the actual NIL collectives will look they will look clean. I think they'll look clean. I think there will be a jersey signing day for everybody who's a member of the Auburn University football team and has signed on with the NIL Auburn, and that they will come and sign jerseys and take pictures, and they will be compensated to do that, and that will be it. However, I think on the back end, the people who we were always wondering, man, did we get outbid for a player that we thought was committed to us for 2 years? That's still going to happen. I think that still happens. I think the boosters don't have to try to get the players in the door through NIL. Let's just go back to what we were doing, putting a bag of money on somebody's stoop in the middle of the night, ringing the doorbell and running off. And then players are coming to the same 3 programs. They get all the best players till the end of time. I don't think that changes. That was working before. It was always against the rules. I think it'll continue to be against the rules. Maybe a player didn't have to hide it with the Wild West NIL that had just started over the last few months. Players didn't have to hide that. Boosters could just sign a couple checks, sign a couple business deals. Players are in the door. They've been promised things. They get it, and it's over. So it won't be that wild anymore. But the best programs, the programs that care the most to put down money to win, will still do that. They will never not do that. And I think it'll still be the same suspects as far as who's willing to spend the most to win. It'll be the biggest programs, the programs that recruit the best right now. And name, image, and likeness will be tamped back to just be that for the collectives. But the boosters don't have to put their money in that hat. They can go back to doing it how they did it before, which is, I want that guy here. Tell me how to get him. That's what I think it's going to look like.
You know, there's a statement that says if you're not cheating, you ain't trying. And so
Patriots motto. It's only the Notre Dame over that thing. It says win the day or whatever. What does it say? Notre Dame. It's something in their like locker room when they leave.
Wear green and gold if you're a pansy. I think is what it says.
It's something like that. I'm sure, Ike, that's what it is. But it's like now that's over the Patriots doorway. You ain't cheating, you ain't trying. They tap it on the way out to the field. Put your cameras on, guys. Put the cameras in your helmets, please. Thank you. That's what they do.
It seems like the NCAA. It's funny. It's funny that this is coming from the NCAA, which most people feel have no moral high ground to actually try to enforce this, considering how people have accused them of being not so on the up and up. But do they have a point in terms of? And I'm asking this to you, Ike. I mean, Mike. I promise your victory lap is around the corner. I promise. You're muted, by the way. Ike. In terms of the spirit of trying to address I guess not address the void between the haves and haves not. Is this the NCAA trying to get ahead of something that appeared to be getting completely out of control?
This was a Band-Aid at best. They're going to have to get super into the weeds on this to even begin to sniff the surface of making this remotely something that people have that has some real teeth to it and some compliance. I think the interesting part of this is the Rule 3. And can we throw that back up there real quick, that graphic? And I think that the most interesting part of this is the third one. If schools suspect that they may have violated NIL rules concerning pay for play and improper inducements, they are expected to report to the NCAA. Who do you think is telling on themselves in this scenario? I understand that maybe you're like, hey, if you tell us first, it's going to be worse than if we find out on our own. Maybe that's the reason they had to throw this in here. But I'm just like, yeah, this is not happening. Nobody's doing this. Nobody's being like, yeah, I think we hey NCAA, I think we might have cheated. So like whatever. Anyway, I thought that was
Sir, I cheated, sir.
Yeah,
like
but self-reporting has been a thing. Like
it is, but I
all
just
the time.
don't think that that's happening.
They just self-report the weakest violations that they know won't.
I don't think that that's happening at all here. Like they're going to be like, oh, coach, I touched the ball last. Listen, that stupid commercial where the little basketball commercial dude was like, no, coach, I touched it. It's out on me. Get out of here, man. You're not doing that, bro. But I do find it interesting that rule number 2, or the point number 2 that's in there, exists with they plan to retroactively go after egregious violations.
Let's talk about that. Let's actually talk about this. This was actually my opportunity to let Mike G do his victory lap.
Yeah, so I'm gonna tee you up here, Mike, because I think it's interesting, because I think that the NCAA already has in mind some people that they're going to investigate about this. And they're like, I'm telling you now, we're coming for you. And we're bringing the hammer with us. So
come on through, Mike.
Let's talk about what that bullet point is.
Yeah.
The NCAA can pursue possible sanctions against anyone who has, and I put in quotes on purpose, egregiously violated these rules since NIL rules were instituted. So in other words, since what was it, July or was it June, the NIL became a thing?
Mm-hmm.
Since then, if you have violated these rules, the NCAA, depending on what they term to be is clear violation.
Yeah, I was about to say the egregious is the portion that it's like, okay, yeah, you violated, but it wasn't egregious, so we're not going to do anything.
So let me give you some examples of some big NIL deals, right? Miami Hoops transfer. I don't know if you heard about this guy. Nigel Pack transferred from Kansas State to Miami, and he signed a $800,000 deal with Life Wallet. The owner of Life Wallet is John Ruiz. Okay. Texas started a charity called Horns with Heart, which provides at least $50K to every scholarship O lineman on the roster.
75.
Yes. Okay. This led to the Longhorns landing a pretty impressive O-line class for 2022. So there are examples of things that could hit the NCAA's radar, right? And when you're talking about going back and addressing people who may have egregiously violated these rules. But Mike Stradamus, you talked about the NCAA actually, once these rules come out, going after some schools that they're kind of on to. Your moment is here, sir.
Well, I just want to clarify, these aren't new rules they're making up. The things they're talking about were always against the rules. It's people just didn't bother to. They're going back and they're clarifying now to make sure that people understand that these things are against the rules. The spirit of NIL was always against inducements. That's your buzzword right there, inducements. You cannot, as a university, use an NIL deal to induce an athlete to attend your university. Attendance cannot be contingent upon participation or attendance at any particular university. That was always in the rule books. It was always in the rule books. And so, like, I got to say, first of all, the victory lap belongs to Auburn Compliance. These guys had it right from the jump. And a lot of our ignorant fans who were just running around mad that Auburn wasn't throwing money around to get recruits using inducements. And our coaches weren't out there towing the line. Well, you can talk about NIL. Yes, you can talk about NIL, but there's not a lot you can legally say. They knew that. We stayed on the right side of it. I don't care what other schools are doing. I don't care that it worked for them, because if retroactively they're getting hit, how much did it matter? And if those kids lose their eligibility over it, how much did it matter? We got to draw the line between morality and winning at some point. The point is that name, image, likeness was supposed to be about the student and the business being allowed to make a deal without the university, the coaches, or any big booster involved. At Auburn, if you sit on the board of trustees, you are excluded from engaging in any NIL deal with an athlete for obvious reasons. It's a common sense rule. This was always coming. So it may have looked like the Wild West, and I'm sorry, maybe on the other end of it, the cheating that everybody thinks is going on, it doesn't have to happen. Your recruiting list is public. What you need is an engaged alumni base that will see who you're going after and approach those athletes with deals once they sign with your university. As a coach, you need to be able to point to the businesses that are making deals. Bruce Pearl told us this. And say, hey, look at our Jabari Smiths are signing NIL deals. You're not going to have a problem getting one if you come here. It's still going to be the best athletes getting the best deals. And there will be deals available to, average performing athletes for not a lot in return. But I mean, I just think it comes down to, you're not allowed to get money and do nothing. We did an interview with Rick Davidson from NIL Auburn.
Right.
He said that. He said each athlete has a fulfillment. You got to go through that fulfillment. And I said, what happens if a student transfers? He said it's not contingent upon attendance at Auburn. But we made it real easy. If they transfer and they don't want to fulfill their obligations, they just stop getting paid.
Right. Or if they got paid in advance, then they owe money back.
They owe money back.
You either got to do the stuff or you got to give us the money back. That's how it works. Right. And that's the clear thing that a lot of these things need to be clear, or a lot of these businesses need to understand. It is not show up and play football and get paid.
No,
you got to do something else outside of the football field in order for this to be illegal.
Autograph sessions, appearances, virtual meet and greets. Literally, there's a whole list of things. And when you go to NIL's Auburn's website, you can see the list of things that your contribution gets you.
Right.
That keeps us well within the spirit. So all we need to do as a fan base and as the Auburn community is just step up and put money towards those things so it becomes worth more money to the athletes that sign up. It's really that simple. People got all up in arms about Texas A&M's class. I don't think Jimbo Fisher had to get involved. They have plenty of enthusiastic boosters at Texas A&M that don't have to be told to throw money behind NIL.
The only question is whether or not the conversations about those NIL deals happened and were contingent upon commitment. And that's where you're going to have to figure out how these conversations are happening, because that turns into an inducement. It has to be.
The NCAA cannot control businesses, and they can't control really what high school athletes are doing. The rules are aimed at putting the onus back on the university. They're saying, just like always, you're responsible for what happens under your roof.
Yeah, correct.
No matter what.
They can't, but the part of the rule is about boosters and collectives, right? And so they're saying specifically these entities, not the university, because if the university does it, that's always been against the rules. It's the boosters and the collectives that are reaching out to potential folks and saying, hey, if you transfer here, there's a bag involved for you. If you sign here, there's a bag involved for you.
But what the NCAA is saying is that the university is responsible for monitoring these deals and making sure they're on the up and up.
Correct.
And if they suspect that one of these deals may not have happened the right way, they're expected to self-report. If they find out that it happened and you didn't, just like any other NCAA violation since the history of time, you're going to get hammered. That's it. They're just making sure that people understand these aren't new rules. This was always coming. I try to explain it to people. And God, man, if you go on some of these boards, like the ignorance that existed around NIL.
I hate to cut you off, Mike, but I'm not on the boards, but I'm just on social media, just as bad, right?
Crazy.
And Julian Phillips, he met with the G League today,
right?
And I saw a comment, Auburn needs to step up its NIL, and I'm thinking,
what? Step up what?
How? Like, how do you propose Auburn do that in light of these rules?
You random social media person. Or who you're talking about.
But see, even with that, like, what do you expect for? Okay, so a booster can't go to Julian Phillips and be like, hey man, you can't go to the G League, bruh. But if you want to come to Auburn, we got X, Y, Z. Like, he can't do that. All they can do is throw. If you want to impact Julian,
already signed.
Right. If you want to impact Julian Phillips coming to Auburn, take a bunch of money and dump it into NIL Auburn, so they can advertise, we just got an injection of funds of $50,000 to give to new athletes. And then Julian Phillips is like, oh, word? They got that kind of bread to throw around to athletes?
Right.
I need to go to Auburn. Or Auburn University can get on their PR game like they have been, talking about the deal Ekuliota has with Under Armour, or the Dunkaroos thing that Walker Kessler signed. Continue to put out there, these are the type of deals our athletes are getting, so that people can look and be like, oh, they getting people deals down
That's
there.
It. Also, the list of university sponsors, like businesses that work with the university, is public. Yeah. They can say, hey, listen, we have comprehensive relationships with a lot in our community. So if you come here, you'll be able to take it. I'm sure they can talk to you more about what they can do.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just telling you, the opportunity exists here to take advantage of NIL. So if you want to be successful at NIL, the kids who have already signed, Janai Broome, Trey Donaldson, who am I missing? Who's the other 5-star? Johan.
Mm-hmm.
Hit these kids with NIL deals.
Yeah.
And that is your signal to Julian Phillips. That's your flair that, hey, if I come, I'm a 5-star, tell them to get what they got.
Right.
It's really that simple. That's all you have to do to stay within the rules. But again, because boosters cannot, habitual line steppers boosters are. They cannot resist the temptation to step over the line and go to the high school recruit to try to get an edge. These rules are coming out from the NCAA saying, hey, you can't do that.
Habitual line steppers, by the way, sounds like a really fire, like old school cover band.
I think it was a Dave Chappelle reference.
It was. But shout out to the late Charlie Murphy.
I was trying to think I said, was that Dave Chappelle or was it? But I just think that it's a smart rule. First and foremost, because you have to regulate the boosters somehow. And Lane Kiffin has a legitimate gripe when he says, listen, that kind of money doesn't exist in our alumni base. I'm screwed.
But okay, so I got a question for you though, Mike. And here's what I want to know. And this is, again, what will have to be defined.
Last question, and Mike answers before we go to the break.
Okay. If I am considered a booster because I have given a certain amount of dollars to the university to help whatever program, whether it's basketball, football, whatever, can I still contribute money to NIL? Am I a booster and contribute to a collective? And if I have done either one or both of those things, are you saying a business that I own cannot offer an independent deal separate from NIL to a player, even if the deal is only up and up? So it's not a sideways It's not a, hey man, why don't you come and take pictures in front of my chicken farm and promote my chicken farm, and then I'll give you $100,000 because I'm a farmer magnate. Because somebody in the Auburn alumni base is banking off of agriculture, because we do it all. So at what point, and also on top of that, what is the dollar amount that makes me a booster? If I am a scholarship giver, then I have given money to the athletic department.
It's not boosters.
It's not boosters though.
Yeah,
like
it
doesn't matter if you're. Yeah, it's not boosters. So to speak. Like, I mean, if you're a booster, you can hand out NIL deals. The rules just stipulate that you cannot go to a recruit before he signed and offer him a deal. The spirit,
it's the members of the board. Like if you're on and
that's an Auburn rule.
Yeah, the board of trustees. You have a direct affiliation with the university, then they don't want you getting involved in booster stuff.
Yeah, they need to stay. It's a smart rule.
Because technically, I mean, it's almost like you're kind of part of the university, but not.
You're a university administrator.
Yeah, I mean, so it's like, yeah. So it makes it murky.
So Tim Cook could drop a Billy on Auburn
if he wanted to.
If he wants to,
Yellowwood could not.
Correct. That is 100% correct. Yes, Tim Cook can drop as much money as he want to. Yellowwood's not Jimmy Rain
allowed
can't.
to do it. Right. Yeah. So again, we can offer. Listen, the War Rapport right now, technically, we're boosters.
Facts.
You know why? Because to buy the season tickets that we give away, you have to make a contribution to the university.
Right.
We can offer an NIL deal to an athlete right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But the idea is we have stepped over the line if we go to a recruit and say,
if we go to Auburn
and you'll sign NIL with us.
Yeah.
That's against the rules. But once he signs, he's fair game. Because attendance should be contingent upon the opportunity to participate athletically. Come to Auburn because we got a dope ass basketball program and a great coach. And after you get here, the money will work itself out.
Right.
You keep the focus in recruiting on the opportunity to participate athletically.
Yes.
That's what the NCAA is trying to do here. Our compliance department got it right. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care how far we fell behind in the last recruiting cycle. We got it right.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you, if some big story breaks because some kid couldn't keep his mouth shut about all the dollars he got, and because the NCAA has been historically so uneven about how they arbitrarily enforce rules on people.
Yeah.
I just don't want Auburn to be towing the line when they start handing down punishment. Because we're the ones that are going to get hit. They wanted to hammer us in the Bruce Pearl thing. They couldn't because our compliance department got it right. They did what they were supposed to do. I expected nothing less in this. I've spoken with Auburn Compliance. We still have that interview coming. They were going to interview with us a couple weeks ago, but they said, Mike, there's some things coming down the pipe. Hold on before we do this interview because we want to make sure that it's comprehensive of everything. I said, okay, we'll slow our roll. But they're going to come on and tell you guys themselves. Super impressed with these guys. Auburn University doing things the right way. Put that in the creed. Doing things the right way. Hey, baby.
God. Thanks for that, Mike G.
I wish you had never heard that song.
I know. He's going to make you hate it in a minute.
I'm going to play it on the broadcast here in a second.
Guys, smash the like button, please. Definitely do that. Show us some love. Help with our engagement. It helps us out a ton. We greatly appreciate it. We're going to pause to acknowledge the sponsors of the War Rapport.
This edition of the War Rapport is made possible by our generous sponsors. AuburnSports.com. For news and notes on all things Auburn sports, head over to AuburnSports.com. Athletic Architects. For young athletes looking to secure their financial future, let Athletic Architects help you to build your financial house. Head over to BuildTheHouse.com. And our giveaway sponsor, GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. If you want the best in the business and restaurant logistics, head over to GWT2Energy.com.
All right, people. You already know what time it is. It is time for us to talk about the best community on the internet, and that is the War Rapport family. Listen, we appreciate all of you who have been members, supporter, or patron level. We have so much more in store for you. If you are already, then you know that you have the blessed opportunity as of right now before everybody else to check out what we got going on with Derek Brown. That conversation is going live for everybody else tomorrow. But right now, today, if you are a member, you can check that out. It is available here on YouTube already for you. We appreciate all of you who are continuing to support the War Rapport with a membership. Patron members, we got y'all with some special stuff coming up. We just did a couple of interviews that we're going to be dropping in your direction here in just a minute. Stay tuned with us for that. Lee County Humane Society is what we're doing for our charitable stuff. So if you all are interested in supporting our mission to help #save all the puppies, all these rescue animals that are out here, make sure you hit the About section and go to the GoFundMe, or you can go to the GoFundMe link on our website and give a donation there. 50 cents on every dollar is going to the Lee County Humane Society. We're giving away a mug today. The giveaway, as always, is sponsored by GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. Make sure you get your weight up in the comments to be able to get on board with what that is given today. And that is one of these War Rapport coffee mugs. As Haley says, it makes everything that you drink taste better. Listen, I didn't say it. Haley said it. So don't come here if it don't taste better when you drink out of it. I want you to hit Haley up on Twitter and tell her she lied to you. She's not lying, though. She's 100% correct. The TWR podcast, the War Rapport podcast, is live. We've got podcast exclusive content dropping for you all over there. But make sure if you're on your commute in the mornings and you want to get another dose of the War Rapport, if you want to check out some of the things that we have going on, we've got interviews, of course. We've got rebroadcasts of some of the stuff that we're doing live. If you want to listen again while you're driving, while you're riding your bike, while you're taking a shower, while you're I don't know, whatever you're doing that doesn't allow you to look at an actual screen and you just want to be able to hear the audio, you can do that on your podcast apps. Make sure you lock in with us on all of those spaces, and we got you.
Yeah. Hey, listen, can't stress enough. Our podcast, guys, is on fire right now. So I know you guys love the YouTube channel, but our podcast game is next level. And we've got some things going on over there that you can only get on podcasts. Please go download every day on Apple. You can download your War Rapport podcast, see what we got going on there. The interviews all get converted to podcasts. So you guys got Jay Fair this morning. You'll get Derek Brown on podcast sometime early next week, but you can view it on YouTube tomorrow for everybody. So podcast.
Indeed. Thanks, guys. Listen, let's for the second part of the show, let's continue this conversation because I got some questions for you guys. But first, I want to read the second bullet point again, as far as the interim NIL policy. The NCAA can pursue possible sanctions against anyone who has egregiously violated these rules since NIL rules were instituted. Where's the line? That's my question. I'll pose it to the three of you guys, all three of you. Where is the line here as it pertains to what they deem to be egregious versus just us? Let's say we came to Johan and said, hey, every week, do an interview with us for Auburn basketball. We'll slide you something. Where does the NCAA choose who to go after, in your opinion?
That's real simple. If you sold an athletic opportunity contingent upon an NIL deal, then you're in trouble. Okay. That's really that simple. Those are the guys they're going to go after. If they go back and look at Texas A&M's class and see that the five of those like 500 5-stars they signed were offered deals prior to signing, saying, hey, if you sign with us, we'll guarantee you X dollars from X company, done. If the university was involved, good luck. The boosters who were involved in that deal, at the very least, will be prohibited from making NIL deals in the future.
Yeah.
Right? So they may spare the university because in year one, it just seemed like a lot was out there. But they're putting everybody on notice moving forward. You are responsible for what your alumni do. That's not different. That's always been that way. They have always held universities responsible for what the alumni base does. Early 2000s, Albert Means, That was a booster that got Bama in trouble.
Yeah.
They hammered them for it. So they're just making sure people understand the NIL is not anybody can do whatever they want whenever they want. It's not what this is. It's just allowing the athletes the opportunity to take advantage of dollars generated on their name, and then making sure that businesses cannot exploit them for free advertisement. Like the NCAA football game is a perfect example. You're blatantly using their image and likeness to sell video games. And they won a huge suit against, and that was the death of that game.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what these rules are. This is what it's intended to do. If you're going to make a game using the likeness of every player in college football, they need to get paid for it. That's their likeness you're using. But it's not the recruiting stuff, man. It was never supposed to be part of it, even though it was always going to be a problem. And this is where the NCAA screwed up. Brian has said this. You screwed the pooch because you waited for the law to do what you should have done a long time ago. Now you're trying to come up with common sense policies that you could have come up with before the crap hit the fan. So I don't know. I'm just saying. I just think Auburn. We have a whole ass creed at Auburn that talks about being a good person and doing things the right way. And
that's a t-shirt, Ike. That's a t-shirt, Ike.
Yeah, because all these other places have half-ass creeds.
Right, exactly.
One cheek creeds. We got two cheek creeds.
I just think
two
it's
cheeks
funny
in the crack.
when you go into some of these message boards. When you go into some of these message boards, because Bama and Georgia and Texas A&M are seemingly gaining an advantage over us, the creed don't matter anymore.
Right.
Come on, man. It can't just be, we're everything school, not just a football school now. And you know what? We're literally winning at everything else. Quite literally.
Yeah, I think it's just, again, I'm just going to be interested because one thing that I know about how rules are put in place is they're put in place because someone's already violated that rule and they're like, we need a rule for that. Right. Like at some point in time, somebody stood up on a roller coaster and they were like, you know what? We need a sign.
Right.
We need a sign because somebody else is going to do that again. And we need to make sure they know we're not going to be held responsible if you stand up on this joint. Right. Keep your arms inside it all. Like at some point in time, someone in the NCAA got wind of something and they were like, we need a rule. We need a rule that explicitly states. And what I do know about that, though, is it already means that someone is in the crosshairs. And I'm just wondering who is the first person that's going to get shot
You know
down.
what?
USC.
USC or Texas A&M.
You know who the other person who, unfortunately, I feel like is in the crosshairs?
Who?
Jackson State. I feel like a lot of people got upset that Deion landed some 5 stars, and they were like, "Hey, man, you might want to go check out what's going on over there, bro."
When he stole that recruit from FSU,
he upset some people.
It was curious, but the money was clearly a factor.
Which is why I said,
money was clearly a factor.
I think that Jackson State's in the crosshairs as well. I think that there are 4 schools in particular: Jackson State, USC, Texas A&M, and who somebody just said the name. Tennessee. Those 4 schools, I think that they're saying to themselves, something ain't right. Something's in the water here.
NCAA said we can't have these HBCUs catching up.
Well, I don't think that's the NCAA. I think somebody else was out there whispering in their ear, like, "Hey, man, come on, now.
Hayden,
come on, catching up."
And the NCAA is very much the way I hear people in media talk about the way Commissioner Roger Goodell does not work for the NFL. He works for the owners. The NCAA, in a very similar fashion, is borderline useless. But if enough powerful members, the members that actually make the money because they're in March Madness and they're in the college football playoff, go and say, "Hey, I need you to do something about this. Because I lost 2 recruits I should have had because they were down here promising these guys things. My class is in trouble. My rating is in trouble. And now they're looking at me sideways and talking about taking my job. Go and do something for me, NCAA. Make yourself useful." And that may have created some pressure for the NCAA to stand up and try to make something of form out of what has been a bunch of craziness for the last 3 months.
Right.
Listen, let's talk about Tennessee. And I'm gonna bring up the third bullet. I'm bringing up the policy again. Third bullet point here. If schools suspect that they may have violated NIL rules concerning pay for play and improper inducements, they are expected to report to the NCAA. Here's why this is so interesting is you have laws in several states that prohibit schools or the NCAA from punishing athletes from accepting money from third parties. An example of this is actually Tennessee. I believe it was last month, there was some state legislation that allows for them to have collectives actually talk on campus to recruits about their program or what they do. What does this mean for schools? And in one of the articles I've been reading talks about potential lawsuits. Should the NCAA take actions against programs that resides in states that allow for this type of stuff?
Yeah, I would say that no matter what state you're in, the spirit of the rules is not intended to punish athletes, right? It's to corner bad actors from university administration and alumni. That's it. Those are the people they're going to go after. So if you're at the university, first and foremost, you cannot be involved. That's why they expect you to self-report. Because if you weren't involved, there's probably no sanction coming your way. They're just going to sanction those individuals. So, and that's why I think if unless you were involved, you have no reason to raise your hand and say this deal may have been done the wrong way.
Depends. If they disqualify your athlete, then you have plenty of reasons.
That's it. That is better than disqualifying your program. So if the athlete is that's all. I mean, I think that's always
the gamble they're taking. The gamble they're taking is they just don't find out and I get away with it though.
Right.
Right. Okay.
See, that's what
I hear you. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
saying
a gambit. Sure. I just don't. I think it's an unnecessary risk.
So okay,
especially if you're like Texas A&M or Bama. If you're one of these schools getting top recruits anyway, losing 1 5-star over a bad deal is not a big deal. For other schools,
if it's
who maybe
only one, maybe.
Right.
Yeah,
right. They'll lose 1 or 2 just to the transfer portal because they didn't get enough playing time that first year. So I think those guys can afford to go. We'll chalk it up to the game with you.
Yeah, it's attrition.
But what I wonder is, and so you are then left to hope that your alumni base is scrupulous enough to not compromise the NCAA rules, make no contact with any prospective signees, and that these prospective signees are not shopping.
Right. That's not different, though.
Your alumni base. I know that's not different, which is why I open saying this is the same game that was always being played. Because, again, this is, hey, well, I was recruiting, and then they go talk to a very famous alumni of the school that ends up signing them. I mean, hey, we have played the game as well, but that still sounds like it's the game.
Yeah, I think if you're the university, your responsibility is to show the NCAA that you did due diligence to make sure that the deal was on the up and up.
Right.
You keep a paper trail, you ask the right questions, and you monitor every deal that's signed by every athlete. That's what Auburn is doing.
Right.
They're saying, hey, we want to see these deals. If they get approached with a deal, they have an app that they can enter information from and stay on the up and up. The NCAA is saying, hey, as a university, it's still your responsibility to provide a framework and a structure to help keep your student athletes compliant. If you don't want to provide that, that's cool. But when we come knocking and you don't have receipts, the goods are stolen.
Yeah. So now I have a different question. All right. We know we went through the Cam Newton saga in 2010, and who reported that there was some mischief in Cam's recruitment was a rival program. I think it Mississippi State or Kentucky, because both went after him. Mississippi State, right? So they tried to snitch. Now, there was not enough substantial evidence to bring down any type of penalty against Cam or against Auburn in that case. So it seems to be that this is almost entirely on, and this is why I have both positive and negative feelings about it.
Okay.
And I don't know if we've ever fallen on either side of this individually, but do we want to cheat? And I mean cheat in every way that is possible to cheat in college football. Do we as Auburn fans and students and alums sitting here, do we want to cheat to be the best program, to come up with a winning season on the road, to beat Bama and Georgia on the road in the same year and win the SEC West and make the playoff and win the playoff? If it takes cheating to do it, are we okay with that? That's the first part of my question for everybody.
I mean, it's clear if you read the message boards, there are a lot of people who are 100%
okay with it.
And only because they are convinced it's happening other places. So they're like, why isn't Auburn getting on board with this?
Yeah.
Right.
I fall on the opposite side of that, though, because again, and I've said this since we've been having the NIL conversation, it will be Auburn that gets caught and sanctioned
every time.
So
and made an example of.
It's not worth it because somehow somebody, you just talked about the Cam Newton situation. If we sniff a national championship, they're like, they couldn't have earned that.
Right.
We went to the Final Four, and then they started looking under the covers in the basketball program. They're like, hold on, cuz, wait a minute.
Well, listen, look at Ole Miss.
That can't be right.
Look at Ole Miss. Hugh Freeze started winning some recruiting battles. That was like, he cheating. Let's take a look.
Yep.
Now, to be fair,
he was,
but
he
was cheating.
He was.
Wait. Okay, so you guys have seen the show Suits, right?
Yeah, you're the only one who just started.
Yeah, right. I watched all 9 seasons in like 6 days. It was gross. But like the in the show, the main protagonist, which to me is Harvey Specter.
Yeah,
has
100%
has a whole career where his opponents are convinced that he cheats to win. And they cannot wait to say, see, I knew he was cheating.
Mm-hmm.
We're Harvey Specter, baby. They're out to get us. And they can't wait. They're waiting. They tried to do it with the Bruce Pearl thing. Pat 40, clown. and Goodman, one of them, said, I mean, they were writing articles in anticipation of our demise.
They are waiting to take their victory lap and see it. See, I told you, there's no way that they could possibly be good. They had to cheat to make it happen. They're just waiting for it to happen.
But while money is flying around everywhere, I don't see them writing the article about Auburn not doing that. We're clearly not.
Of course not.
Or writing the article about all the places that they suspect are cheating.
Right. To that point, somebody brought up, it was some rogue coach. It was like 4 or 5 years ago. It said, Nick Saban has cheated to get the players that he gets and to build the program that he's built. And everybody in media everywhere said, this guy's a lunatic. Burn him at the stake. And as somebody who grew up in the state of Alabama, went to high school in the state of Alabama, went to college in the state of Alabama, we know people who go to other schools, and when you have these casual conversations about things that go on their campus with their players, I would say, I will suffice to say that, and this is not a jab at Nick Saban, because to answer the question I asked y'all, I will say the game is the game. If you are playing against people who are playing to a certain degree that you are not playing the game, you are going to get lapped. And to Ike's point, we have gotten lapped in certain ways because we don't play the game to that extent, which I think is a good thing. So what I think ends up happening is we know beyond the shadow of a doubt that certain things have been built up at a certain cost, and those costs will never become public. That information will never become public. And the media, everybody came to this to bury this man and stone him in the court and say, Nick Saban, how could you say that? Because he's a coach and he knows it. I was like, listen, I find it hard to believe that none of y'all are willing to come on, man. I'm not saying that you have to say Nick Saban's a terrible coach. Y'all know I don't think Nick Saban is the greatest coach ever. I'll give you program builder, but I also know what it takes to build a program in college to the extent and at the rate that he did. It takes some stuff that not everybody is willing to do and not everybody is able to do. You don't have to act like everybody came to defend his honor. And I'm like, wait, are we acting like this doesn't exist? What are y'all doing? David Pollack, he's a commentator for ESPN.
Mm-hmm.
I love David Pollack because one of the things he said in the first 2 years that he was on camera, he was like, listen, man, people don't really want to know what goes on in locker rooms, in programs. He's in front talking to America like, y'all don't want to talk about it. So let's just not talk about it. I feel like it's all understood, but in the grand scheme of history, we count championships for people, we count conference titles for people, and we act like it doesn't happen. And to Ike's point, nobody's going hard after the people where there is impropriety that is even somewhat plain. There are not that many college athletes getting brand new Dodge Chargers. I'm sorry.
Right.
You telling me everybody just go to college and get Dodge Charger money? Most people go to college broke, man. What is going on? But not an eyebrow was raised. Nothing to drum up suspicion there. And I'm with Ike. We would be the program that gets hammered because it's like, wait, we know they do it. What are y'all doing? Y'all aren't supposed to be doing this. Y'all aren't supposed to be getting better. No. Let's take the dogs.
And it seems like there's a bias there because your programs like your Bamas, your Texas, your Oklahomas, your Ohio States, they're supposed to be winning and getting the top recruits anyway. But when you have another school that's competing on the same level, that's not a blue blood type of football program, now the eyes start looking at them because the only reason is that they have to be cheating, right?
Yeah, I think that's why it's important what Bruce Pearl did with Auburn basketball in 2019. You took a bunch of average guys and went to the Final Four and lost to a no call.
Yeah.
So now there can be no question about his ability to be able to win with top tier recruits.
Right.
Because he did it. Let's be clear. When it comes to basketball, NIL is great, but our best recruiting tool is Bruce Pearl.
Yes.
And the program that he built before NIL. Yeah. And the draft picks he had before NIL. Mm-hmm. So I just want to establish that. If Brian Harsin in 2022 somehow pulls a coup and wins the West with these guys, I don't want to hear how NIL built Auburn in the future.
Right.
It will be his ability to be able to win with the guys he has that causes other guys to want to come here and be developed by this coach and this coaching staff at this university. And I'm telling you, I still think that's primarily what it's going to be in the future. It's going to be the same folks winning because they've got better coaches and better facilities and the best opportunity. Yeah. If anything, NIL just creates a bigger gap between the folks who were already winning,
yes,
and the folks who were just trying to keep up. Yeah. In the age, if you think NIL is helping folks recruit, I don't think it helps a Cincinnati make the playoff again.
No, it doesn't change the status quo, but what it does do, and again, the spirit of all of this is helping the athletes capitalize. There was little chance that I'll take Desmond Ridder as an example, right? Cincinnati doesn't make the playoff. Desmond Ridder's probably going to the NFL anyway, right? But the star running back on that Cincinnati team, that I don't know what his chances were of making the NFL. I don't even know if he got drafted, right?
Right.
But he had a stellar college career playing for a team that went to the college football playoff. Before NIL, he is fighting for a roster spot on a practice squad somewhere and maybe never makes any real money. Mm-hmm. In the era of NIL, he can leave college with money.
Yes.
Right. And that's that's the thing that people skip at. In the era of NIL, Suni Lee gets an opportunity to come to college at Auburn University and still capitalize off of her popularity.
Right.
In the era of NIL, we are still in the sweepstakes to land another 5-star basketball talent that could go semi-pro or pro. So we have the opportunity to get different caliber talent to come and stay at Auburn University, or even decide, if you're Eku Leota, I could have gone to the draft, but now I don't have to forego getting money and I can raise my draft stock. I can have the best of both worlds. I can still play in college. I can raise my draft stock, and I can risk the injury without losing the money.
Right.
And that's what it's intended to do if you do it right.
Along with that, because I've been thinking about this since Mike said this a long time ago, before NIL actually got unlocked by the NCAA. If you're smart enough, if your family's looking out for you, hopefully you got somebody in your corner that is advising you properly, you can go into college as a highly rated high school prospect. And it probably is going to weigh more heavily on for football players than basketball players, because what's most value to businesses for NIL is a guy who is already good that is coming back. That's the best value. You come into college and it being expected to be a high ranking pick or expected to produce is not the same, because Spencer Rattler signed an NIL deal and got benched at Oklahoma. What's his name? DJ Uiagalelei at Clemson had a terrible season. And I don't think that he's going to be looking at the same opportunities this season that he did last season. But if you can come in and produce and then come back, i.e. the Biletnikoff winner, who is purportedly on his way to USC or Alabama, let the rumors tell it, he has the highest value. And even if something like that did happen where, oh man, he got hurt or something crazy, think about a Marcus Lattimore in South Carolina. Imagine the career he would have had in the pros. What you can do is come into college, be advised properly, produce early, get on the field, show what you can do, get some good deals. If you never play a down of NFL football, you can have somewhere between $500,000 and $4 or $5 million, depending on how dominant. Imagine a Derek Brown coming back for a senior year, but NIL's on the table. So he comes back here. Businesses are thankful. We already know he's the man. We already know Marlon's the man. And you can leave college with a bit of a trust fund that no matter what you decide to do, I'm gonna go and play in the NFL. Just invest that. You got a team. Like I'm waiting for that business to kick off. Yeah, like you got your NIL. We're gonna make sure you sign the right deals. Invest my money so that when I leave here, not only do I have a degree because I decided to stay because it could be just as profitable as going, but I legitimately have retirement saved up, and I don't have to worry about to get me on practice squad in making $40,000 and $50,000. No, I have the money to live and survive if I need to, just off of what I did in college. So the university itself, they got the fruits of my labor, but I am benefiting from the fruits of my labor long term, long after that 4-year scholarship. And that's the biggest turn here for athletes. If they do it right, they can be set for a good long time, a very big rainy day fund, or perhaps even for life.
Good points, gentlemen. Listen, we're gonna resume this conversation, but first we're going to take a break to hand out a mug, guys. You already know what it is. Brought to you by show sponsor GW, or not show sponsor, but our giveaway sponsor, GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. Shouts out to Walt for being so generous and gracious. Enter hashtag get your weight up in the comments, guys, so you can enter to win. Please do that. Ike, how are we looking good, sir?
Hey, we are good to go, man. We got 47 people ready to get themselves a mug. So we need to make sure that somebody walks up out of here with a wonderful mug. Who was it going to be today? 50 people have entered. I'm hitting the button. Somebody's getting themselves a mug courtesy of our friends at GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. That someone is Demarius Jackson. If Demarius, if you are still here, make sure you make yourself known so that we can get you your mug, man. Let's make sure we get that thing popping.
Yes, please do. Guys, be on the lookout for it. Let's take time to acknowledge another sponsor of the War Rapport, one of our favorite sponsors, Rogue Shop.
This episode of the War Rapport is brought to you in part by Rogue Shop. Looking to reduce stress or improve your quality of sleep? Rogue Shop has you covered with a wide range of premium products, including gummies, bath salts, and oils. Go to rogueshop.com and use code RAPPORT when you check out. That way, they know we sent you. All right?
All right. If you're still here, everybody's saying that you're not, but Demarius, let us know if you're still in the comment section, man. But you do have to be present to win, so we are going to watch out for him and make sure he can get his mug. But hey, listen, keep hashtagging in the comments. Maybe he doesn't show up and we have to draw again.
Maybe he does not. Mike G, you mentioned something.
Mm-hmm.
Just educate the people about if the NCAA goes after a booster, what that entails for that booster in terms of time frame. Is it permanent? Like, do you know the details around that?
I don't, but I'm going to find out from compliance when we have our discussion. So some new things were coming down the pipe. They knew they were coming down the pipe. And he committed to giving me the details on everything so that we can pass that information along to you. And at the very least, our listeners will be in the know about what boosters can and can't do and what will happen to them if they do not abide by the rules. So there was a slippery slope that was happening here with NIL. And, we put out every once in a while, our social media guy will put out a quote from us on the show. And I just felt like this was always coming. This was inevitable. And it came a little faster than I thought it would come. But I'm happy that it's here quickly. And I think it's going to be good. If you're Lane Kiffin, you love these rules. It slows it. Everybody else has to slow their roll now. The roll that you thought was coming. So like I like it. I think it's a good thing ultimately. But they're putting boosters on notice. If you're handing out inducements, stop.
Yeah.
And if you don't stop, you've been warned. And they're telling universities, if you know this is happening, report. If I were a university and I find out my boosters were not on the up and up, I'm reporting now so they don't hit me later. That's it. That's the best way to do it. That's the best way to stay out of trouble. And at worst, it costs you a recruit who received an improper inducement. But if you don't, the worst is you lose a lot of recruits over the next few years. So,
guys, continue to put hashtag get your weight up in the comments because it's looking like the Marys may be gone for real. But we're going to move on to the last part of our show, and that is fan question finale, guys. So this is a part where we actually address some of your questions that you have entered in the comments that we have seen. We haven't been ignoring you guys. We're about to hit some of these right now. Jared Reynolds asks, what percentage do you think AU will land Phillips tomorrow?
Julian Phillips, for those of you who don't know, is the 5-star recruit that we are trying to get on the squad here. He and Johan were both committed to LSU previously. Phillips, I think it's 50-50 right now between us and the G League, honestly. Like, I think that's where he's either going to come to Auburn or he's going to go to the G League. If I were to just throw a percentage out there, that's not anything that I know for certain, but you're asking me what my thought is. I'd say 50-50 between us and G League.
If he chooses Auburn, we're going live tomorrow, baby.
Yeah, for sure.
We're going live tomorrow.
Yeah. I like our chances. This will be a big victory if we pull him, because up to this point, the G League has been pretty undefeated. If a guy has an opportunity to go to G League, they go. So if he chooses Auburn instead of the G League, that's a big win for Bruce. But I do like our chances considering that the G League is involved. It looks like Tennessee is in third at this point. So remains to be seen. John Brandon says, by the way, appreciate you hanging out with us, John. Rogue Shop got me with the free sample. Just placed another order. That's what's up, John. Good to hear that. Also, he was answering your question, Beep. It says play like a champion, referring to Notre Dame.
That's what it says on over their thing. Yeah. So Patriots is cheat like a champion. That's what it is. Yeah.
Noted. John also says the NCAA desperately needs to show they have some teeth. I think they use this NIL stuff to hammer some programs. They need a win. Thoughts on this, guys?
Yeah, it's tough. They don't have subpoena power. They cannot compel people to hand over information. All they can do is hand out punishment as a deterrent, which is why we see them arbitrarily heavy-handed at times. So you just need to get ahead of this. There's no listen. If you have, ultimately, I do still think it comes down to being able to coach and develop. But if your alumni base is willing to step up and put up the money that it takes to attract athletes to your university, there's no reason for anybody to cheat.
Yeah,
not really.
Well, if they all had that, Mike, they wouldn't have to cheat, but they don't, so they got to cheat.
Yeah, I mean, this is a prime opportunity to actually win athletes, essentially, with NIL deals without cheating. There's a way to do it. So, got to put up the money. You sponsor your current athletes and make sure that they have good NIL deals, and then you give your coaches something to use as a recruiting tool. That is within the rules. Hey, look at Jabari Smith. He got a shoe deal, one of the only ones in college basketball. He attended Auburn, and you could have the next shoe deal. I can't tell you where it's coming from, but I can tell you can talk to Jabari about where the guy is.
Yeah.
Indeed. Let's move on to the next one. Appreciate that question, John. Lawrence asks, do y'all think NIL will expose bad coaching? A lot of coaches have had the excuse that they just can't get the talent. And it seems like B. Will wants to respond with his hand raised.
So what it will do is it will bring the nation to the consensus that I have arrived at about 4 years earlier, which is I could give you all the 5 stars you want, but if you're a mediocre coach, you're a mediocre coach. That lightning can strike with you when you've got a ton of talent on your team, but that can happen. I think anybody can talent their way to a great season. When I say great season, I mean 1 loss and you win your conference and you're in the college football playoff. If you get enough talent, you too can get your way to the college football playoff. USC is about to be in that position. I don't know if it happens year 1 for Lincoln Riley because there's still a bit of a hodgepodge, and I do think it takes some time to coalesce, especially in football, man. Systems are different, new environment for kids, a lot of that kind of stuff. But I do think you will find teams, because they're so top heavy, man. It's still USC. Well, now it's USC in the mix. Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia. The most impressive thing to me about what Clemson did for about 4 or 5 years there, they have never recruited at that level. Never. They hit at quarterback more often than most schools do, and it got them on that level, and it helped them maintain that level for a good 5 years. That is the entire Bruce Venables was there. They were able to get good defensive recruits. They have never had a class like what Georgia had in the last 5 years, like what Jimbo just signed, or like what Alabama signed in the last 7, 8 years. They have never recruited at that level. Never. They've gotten 2 or 3 one time, but they have never been number 1, and they have never been number 1 more than 1 year. They can't.
Who are we talking about?
Clemson.
Oh, yeah.
So for them to be at that level that they were at in the college football playoffs, competing for championships, that was impressive. What this collective the collectives and the NIL deals will allow people to do is it kind of eliminates the middle ground. Because you can make some excuses for some coaches sometimes. Like, oh, man, he had a down season. We expected him to win 10 games. Yeah, but his quarterback got hurt. So let's give him a little grace. Like that was Jimbo's excuse. I called 8-4 before the season started. Everybody thought because he had Kellen Mond and an outstanding defense and an all-world offensive line in a year where other teams didn't even get to practice defense, that somehow Jimbo was a great coach again. He was not. He had an advantage of continuity, while other teams looked egregiously bad on defense, really league-wide. The one thing that I think happened with the COVID year was if you didn't have time to practice on that side of the ball, you look terrible. They say that in NFL preseason, defenses, usually defenses actually, they say they come set if they're already set, if they've been playing together. Offenses take time to catch up because it's about rhythm and things like that. But defenses kind of have, it's kind of the opposite in college, maybe because offense is such the focus now. But I expect that you're going to have no excuses for a Jimbo Fisher when you've got 2 5-star quarterbacks in the same class. You're going to have no excuses for a Jimbo Fisher when you've got 12 defensive 5-stars playing on one side of the ball. Yes, I know that's more than is allowed on the field. Yes, I know that. When you've got those type of advantages, it eliminates excuses, which is why I was always so hard on Kirby Smart. You've got everything. You've got more talent on your roster right now than Auburn has had in 4 years combined. Why aren't you winning championships? We trip into a win over Nick Saban every few years. Why can't you do that? You can't luck into a win over Nick Saban. Come on, Kirby. What are your excuses? So what we're looking at right now is there's not going to be any more excuses for a Jimbo Fisher. There's not going to be any excuses for a Lincoln Riley. And there's definitely not going to be any excuse for Ryan Day. Ryan Day is a fraud. Ohio State recruits at an Alabama and Georgia level. Their talent that they put in the NFL is elite. They have elite talent. They have players winning Super Bowls for the NFL. They have players signing top 3 contracts at their position in the NFL. But they can't win a college football playoff game? Well, they did with Justin Fields at one time, but they got goose-egged by Clemson. Ever since the 1 year, which is a perfect example, Urban Meyer talented his way into the 2014 championship. The talent on that roster are all world players in the NFL, buddy, which is the exact same thing that Jimbo did at Florida State. The talent on that roster, all world players in the NFL, multiple Super Bowl appearances from players on that team. Some teams you can do that. If you are only talenting your way into a championship in college with guys that could never be on the same NFL team because they would cost somebody too much money, you are not a good head coach. You are mediocre. If you are better at 15 out of 22 positions than people across from you, Ohio State should not be going to Purdue and losing. You are a garbage head coach.
Garbage.
What?
Wow.
Yo, we gonna have to have the B Will fraud list, and it seems like it gets longer.
I think we need one. I think he needs to rank them. I want to see him do.
This is a whole segment.
It's a segment.
Whoever wants to join at some point in time over the next couple of weeks, we're gonna do a whole podcast episode, and we're gonna do the B Will fraud list, and we're gonna let him go crazy on what schools and coaches he feels like are fraudulent out here in college football. And I can't wait to hear it.
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna look up their recruiting classes.
I like that, Andrew. We're gonna call them Will's bums.
I'm with it. We're gonna look up their recruiting classes, the players that actually started and got reps for them. Also, we're gonna look at the players that did not get reps for them, because Ohio State's the only team I know that let a Heisman winner and national champion walk out the door in lieu of another guy. I'm just saying. I know that you couldn't ask Dwayne Haskins, RIP, somebody who was very productive, who was an Ohio State guy through and through, apparently from the time he was a kid. He loved the university. He said he was going to go. He played, and he was very good for them. I get why you don't say, hey, sit down, because we think this other guy might be just as good or better. They didn't know that. But eventually, if you let enough people get out the door that do better when they leave, you are the problem. You have a problem with evaluating. Jameson Williams was more productive last year for Alabama with the quarterback playing for a bad offensive line than any of the players that stayed at Ohio State. I know they were productive, and they still didn't see competition like Jameson Williams saw down here. I don't know, man. Ohio State got a problem, and I'm tired of everybody trying to gloss over. We don't have to wait for NIL to say Ryan Day is a fraud. He is a fraud. The degree to which they are out recruiting everybody else, and they play much worse competition in that conference, man. This is not like a Bama or Georgia, but you still got to see a Florida or a Tennessee or a Auburn or a LSU. It's like you don't have to see these guys every year, man. You got to play Michigan, Penn State.
Are you arguing that the Big Ten is not a good conference?
I'm arguing that the Big Ten is not a good conference.
Okay.
I think they are mid-heavy. I think the SEC is top-heavy. The Big Ten is mid-heavy. Like, I think their 5, 6, 7 probably beats up on their 4, 5, 16 probably beats up on every other league's 4, 5, 6, but their 1, 2 is not beating.
Yeah, us included.
Yeah,
they got a trash waistline. Right?
All right,
I'm good for that though. Thank y'all for your time.
All right. All right. Thanks for that, B. Wow.
Okay. From this motherfucking War Eagle Cup.
So,
Bay Lyman says
we're going to need more of you guys to sign up for memberships because clearly Mike G is committed to demonetizing every stream that we have.
My bad. I'll clean it up after. I promise we'll make $5 on this one.
Okay. Does NIL deals end after the athlete graduates or goes to the NFL, etc., or does it continue? Is it only for their time in college?
It can, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's between them and the business, right?
I say it's a private deal between an athlete and a business. Even if they negotiate that through a collective, that business has the right to continue. And I think that it behooves a lot of those businesses to try to get in before that athlete signs some big deal somewhere else. But that's completely on them. But like what the thing that you have to look at with the name, image, and likeness stuff is that, especially if you're going through something like a collective, is that what they do with what you can earn is based upon what you're worth at the time. And your worth exponentially increases once you sign an NFL deal, right? And so you're getting paid through that collective and you're not going directly to a company, then that's those deals will expire once you leave. But if you're going directly to a business, then that's brokered completely different.
In the state of Alabama, lawyers have to register as NIL agents. And then if you want to broker a deal, your NIL agent has to be a registered NFL agent. Like, they can't carry over. So you almost, and I'm assuming we have an interview with a lawyer from Gatehouse Law on our channel where he talks about this. And you're almost forced to sign with another agent to do, pro sponsorship deals. So it just is what it is. I mean, there's a bunch of rules to this, guys. Ultimately, once you leave college, you can stay on a deal as long as you're fulfilling the obligations of that contract. If you're not, it doesn't matter because it no longer affects your eligibility. You're gone. However, what benefit does the business have for just continue to give you money after you go pro? None. You're not playing for the university, and there's no benefit to their business unless you're a huge name bringing tons of dollars. But to Ike's point, your name is worth so much more. Unless they're going to pay NFL money, I terminate the deal. And a lot of these contracts have essentially contingency clauses saying, once you go pro, you have an option to terminate. Because you will not be around. You physically cannot be around to do your fulfillment if that included live signings or meet and greets and things of that nature.
There's no pro team in Auburn, so how are you going to just show up in Auburn for a meet and greet randomly?
Right.
Like, you could, but it's just going to be much harder for you to meet the stipulations of your contract. So.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. There's an out. There's an out essentially once they go pro. Most of them will take it because they're going to want to renegotiate that rate anyway.
Right. Jake Mobley says, got my Egyptian cotton t-shirt the other day. Thanks again, guys, and keep up the good work.
He told y'all. I don't have to say it no more. It's Egyptian cotton.
Rick says, appreciate this, Rick. Do the Bama players now have to buy their own Dodge Chargers now that there's NIL?
I doubt it. They just have.
They could get a deal that includes a Dodge Charger.
Yeah.
They probably got a Dodge dealership handing them out now.
Yeah. I saw Texas running back Bijan Robinson signed a deal with, what was the car brand? It was like a luxury car brand.
Yeah.
And he got one for free, except it's like $100,000 car. It is not a Dodge Charger. Wow.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I'm all about it. Do you get your bag now?
Right. Lamborghini.
Amazing.
Ice cream.
Ricky Williams got in trouble for possibly smoking. This dude gets a Lamborghini.
Mike G, we was acting wild. We drove Cavaliers. Could you imagine if we had a Lambo?
The Cadillac? I forgot about the Cadillac. Looked like a Cavalier, riding like a Cadillac.
How could you forget?
Cadillac. Yeah, we did.
Bayline,
you had a purple one. Everybody, Caesar had a purple Cavalier.
Yeah, it's my sister's car.
Barney purple.
It's my sister's car.
That happened. So, Brian drove a Camry. My mom Camry.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it. There's no mom.
Ike was walking.
They're all moms.
We were picking Ike up whenever he needed.
Yeah, I was walking. So yeah.
Tiger Transit.
I did. That was some good times, man. Good times. Bay Lyman asks, do you think the SEC will eventually branch off into their own entity when Texas and Oklahoma comes into the fold, start their own governing body like the NCAA? I've heard that a lot.
Yeah, listen, the announcement of the move to the SEC almost broke the NCAA. Mm-hmm. This is similar to the destruction of the Big 12. When Texas and Oklahoma were talking about going to the Pac, and there are all these things that, at the time the SEC was like, you can't bring the Longhorn Network with you. Our money distribution deal is set up so that everybody profits equally from TV deals. So by the time Oklahoma has got something going with ESPN now for the next couple of years called Sooner Vision. I don't know if you guys saw that announcement.
Yeah, I heard about
Sooner Vision. And I think that's going to have to be done by the time they join the SEC. Yeah. So I'm sure that contract has an out because I know Sankey is not letting them in with that foolishness. He better not. Or you're going to have some mad members. But yeah, the SEC is going to wield a lot of power once Texas and Oklahoma join. So
the only thing about them joining and the SEC branching off is I think about things like NCAA sanctions, right? Is the SEC going to police itself if teams don't follow where currently NCAA rules? But who's left to do that? I think that's something that conferences probably don't want to have to do. Is you get to govern, you get to decide, you don't have to share that pot of money. But do you want to have to? Ole Miss says Mississippi State did some, came after my player and told them to jump in the portal and they come get them. They had a starting spot for him. So who you going to report to? Hey, Greg Sankey. Mike Leach going to Greg Sankey and say, hey, I didn't do it. Lane Kiffin said, yes, he did. Greg Sankey said, listen, man, all the checks are getting cash. Y'all shut up and go play. Mm-hmm. And now Ole Miss is just screwed. Like that's something that I think kind of keeps the SEC from going on its own, at least right now, is who wants to deal with all the NCAA regulations, some of which are actually necessary. Some of it's necessary. Like was it not NCAA rules or at the NCAA level where the time that a player can spend in practice and playing was limited for player safety? Yeah. So now if the SEC says we're our own league, who's going to police that? Is it the exact same as the NCAA? Do they now, it's like now you could say, well, we don't want you to do that for player safety. But if you are the person benefiting because you are the only league and you're making all the money. So if these players practice too long, but they get really good, and then now you got a amazing conference championship and all this stuff. It's like, are you really going to care? You don't have an incentive to police yourself if you're the only cop on the block. That's the danger with being your own league, and that's a burden because it really looks like the Wild West, and you don't have anybody to report to hold you accountable for it. So I think that probably holds this up for a little while. I don't think they'll have a problem getting in Oklahoma and Texas and then just being the bully on the block because everybody will hate watch the SEC win championships. People did it for LeBron and the Heat. People did it for the Warriors. The basketball, of course. People now hate watch the Dallas Cowboys when they start to look good. Everybody hates the SEC for being dominant.
Just to be clear,
they hate watch them. Period. Yeah.
Nobody watches that. Nobody wants to see them play ever.
People put them on TV like people want to see them play.
Yeah, I don't watch any of those games.
Ike's a 49er fan. That's where that's coming from.
Who wants to watch Dallas? The only time I watch Dallas is when they're losing to the 49ers. Continue.
But yeah, that's the problem. That's the only problem. I think it does more work for the SEC as a league to have every other conference still in play, to just be the biggest bully on the block because we're pushing around the Big Ten, we're pushing around the ACC, we're pushing around the Pac-12, and we are still winning against those other conferences. It gives everybody something to talk about, which is what the media pie is about. So I don't think there's too much incentive yet, but we'll see. I'd like to know the football breakdown for who gets what money when it comes to the college football, the TV contracts. I want to know how that pie is cut up. If I could find that information, I think I'll be a little better informed about who's leaving and when.
All right. Well, listen, we're going to get back into these questions in just a minute, but we have two responsibilities to do before we get out of here. We'll try to get a couple more questions in before we bounce. First and foremost, apparently our guys didn't want that mug, so he dipped out before he had his opportunity. So y'all have the chance right now to hashtag get your weight up in the comments, and you can still get this mug. We're going to go ahead and hit this button again, draw again. And if Demarius, if we miss your statement in the comments, man, my bad, bro. But we're going again. Seeing who's going to get this hell mug. This time it is underrated. I have seen quite a few times in the comment section today. So if you are still here, make sure you slap that in the comment section.
Where you at? Underrated.
And while we're waiting on Underrated to do his thing, we just got word from one of our sponsors that we get to do another giveaway. So y'all make sure you hashtag Rogue in the comments. And our guy at the Rogue Shop or at rogueshop.com says that he is going to give away a 20-count Delta 8 gummy to whoever gets this drawing. We're going to do that here in just a minute. Underrated is here in the comments. I see you, Underrated. So you know what you need to do. You need to come on in here and send us your address to business@thewarreport.com. I will get that mug out to you so that you can enjoy sipping whatever you like to sip out of your War Rapport coffee mug. We appreciate you always tuning in here. Hashtag Rogue in the comments right now, though, and you will have the opportunity to win this 8-count for the from rogueshop.com. So we're going to do that drawing here in just a minute. Going to jump in, take a couple of questions, let you guys get on that hashtag, and then we will get to this drawing. We only have about 5 minutes before we do this drawing. So let's go ahead and get a couple more chats in here.
All right. Actually, give me a second, guys. Let's go ahead and do this one real quick. Joe Kyle says seed money for B. Will.
For the fraud segment.
Okay.
Thank you,
Yeah.
I think Walt had a catchy name for that.
Yeah, it was B. Will's Bums.
B. Will's Bums. Yeah.
I like that.
B. Will's Bum List is what we're going to do. We're going to do the top 5 overrated coaches. B. Will's Bum List coming to a podcast segment near you. That's going to happen.
Great TV.
That's going to happen.
That's going to be awesome.
So what I think we are going to do, we'll talk about how we want to structure this. We'll talk about how we want to structure this because I'm excited to do this. B. Will's Bum List is coming to you guys sometime here in the next couple of weeks for sure.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Auburn Live, hashtag anytime, says, I don't know why, but I think Auburn football is going to be really good this year. Do you have the same sort of feeling, guys?
I think that we have a chance to be. I think they have a chance to surprise a lot of people. And if you're one of these bums that thinks we're going to win 5 games, then not, you know what I mean? It shouldn't take much. 6 wins should surprise you. So I do feel like we can surprise a lot of people. I don't think this team is as bad as people, or I don't think they're bad at all. We've got a ton of talent. And then when you talk to these kids, guys, we bring you guys these interviews. When you talk to these kids, it's hard not to believe in them.
Right.
It's hard not to believe in them when you hear how they believe in themselves. Right. They've just got to put it all together, and the coaches are going to play a role as well, too. But I'm always going to be on the side of buying in to kids who have bought into the process, to their coach, and to believing in themselves. I believe in that. So this team has talent. We got speed. According to Robbie and TJ and Jay Fair, we've got speed everywhere. We've got a bunch of guys out there sliding around the field. under 4.4. So if they can utilize that speed and scheme guys open and scheme holes for the running back, man, we could be dangerous next year.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I definitely, I think we have a chance. I mean, to your point, it's all relative. Like, I know we had guys, you know, some guys felt we could go 10-2. Some said 9-3. I was a Debbie Downer, but I think if Auburn wins 8 games, that means we're beating some teams or beating a team we have no business beating according to media.
Yeah.
And so I think for Auburn to go 8-4 next year, that's a 2-win improvement. That's pretty good. I think that begins to show improvement. That shows that Harsin has a program heading in the right direction, and I think that helps for momentum purposes. So I definitely feel that. Auburn can leave next year with fans feeling good about the direction of the program. I really do. So, all right, guys, we ready?
Yeah. All right. Hashtag Rogue. Last chance. Hashtag Rogue.
How many entries we got there?
We got 41.
That's good.
We got 41 in here. Hashtag Rogue. Jump in this here drawing. I'm going to go ahead and spin it. If you didn't get in it by now, maybe next time. Who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? I know all these people are here.
Yeah, you left in the last 5 minutes, and it's Saturdays for you.
Daniel Speller.
Daniel. What's up, Daniel?
You gotta claim
let
it
us
still.
know. Let us know.
Rules are the same.
So for the winner on this one, we'll get your information over to Richard with Rogue Shop to make sure you do that. But Daniel, let us know if you're still here. If you left after you put that hashtag, man, I just don't even know what to tell you what to do with your life. But yeah, while we're waiting on Daniel, though, let's do the normal pleasantries. He's here. Daniel is here. Daniel, just email us business@thewarreport.com. We'll get all the information that we need from you to pass that along so that we can get your stuff over to.
Yeah, phone number and address is what he needs. So phone number and address, Daniel.
Awesome.
All right. Do we want to take one more, guys, or we let's go ahead and take one more. Bay Lyman asks, can the university expel them? I mean, I guess I'm thinking he's talking about boosters from any involvement with the university if they are caught breaking NIL rules.
Yeah, the university has always been able to excommunicate boosters or disassociate. So the answer is yes. And for less than that, for almost any reason they feel like. Yeah, you can excommunicate a booster and be like, he's not part of us, especially if they do something publicly embarrassing or that is not a good representation of your university's code of conduct or morals. Right? Well, you murder somebody, they can be like, yeah, he's not one of us. We're good. So NIL, yes, they can. Absolutely.
Gotcha. Appreciate that. Well, good show, gentlemen. Ike, you want to tell people what they need to become before we get on out of here, sir?
Yeah, absolutely. You all need to become a member of the War Report. $3.99 supporter level. We don't talk about the supporter level much. You can definitely come on board, get some nice thing. Listen, if you've not been a part of, let me just start pumping up the regular season for a second. If you've not been a part of the War Report regular season, then you don't know how much fun we have on game days, pregame, halftime. Those are member-only chats. You can only be a part of that if you are a member of the War Report. Post-game, we sometimes restrict that one to the chat being only for, but I'm saying pregame and halftime, sometimes those are just members, right? Like you can't even come on the stream if you're not a member. But sometimes we restrict the chat to just members specifically in that post game because we want that to be a family conversation and let the trolls kind of just watch from the outside. But the patron level is where you want to be right now during the off season while we're doing a lot of that, more of that exclusive content for you all. We got a lot of great stuff coming up. Again, right after you finish watching this live, you can go watch the interview we had with Derek Brown. that is available right now. If you are a member of the War Rapport, go ahead and lock in with us to get more content like that, because we have more coming up. We are partnered with the Lee County Humane Society, of course, the hashtag Save All the Puppies. Make sure that you hit the About section, and you can click the link to the GoFundMe, or you can go to our website. That's thewarrapport.com, and you can find that GoFundMe there. 50 cents on every dollar goes towards the Lee County Humane Society. We are also selling merch. You already saw that there was someone who got it for free tonight. If you didn't get yours for free, you can go ahead and purchase something that you'd like. There's a lot of stuff that we don't give away on the show that's available there. So just because you haven't seen us give it away on the show doesn't mean it's not there in the merch store. So head over to warreport.com. You click on the catalog to see the full availability of what we've got going on there, and make sure that you can get yourself some War Rapport merch to rock and make all of your friends jealous. The War Rapport podcast is doing wonderful things right now. You want to make sure that you are locked in with us on podcast. If you are taking your dog for a walk, and you don't want to do that absent of the War Rapport giving you all of this lovely Auburn content, you can do that right now. If you're taking a shower, driving, all the things that you should not be watching a television screen or a phone screen and doing at that time, you just want to listen, the podcast has you locked in for that. We already gave away something from our guy Richard at rogueshop.com. But if you want some more of those lovely products that they have there, use code Rapport when you hit the website so that he knows we are the ones that sent you over there. And just another big shout out. If you guys were not available to see this on Sunday, we do have a new show sponsor for all of you athletes that are out there wanting to secure your financial future. We talked a lot about NIL tonight. If you're an athlete and you are considering getting into the realm of NIL and you want to have a great pass-through entity to make sure you can get your taxes set up properly, all that kind of stuff, Athletic Architects is who we have partnered with to make sure that we have a resource for you to be able to continue to do that. Hit up buildthehouse.com to lock in with them.
Also, it's an off season, but never forget, ladies and gentlemen,
They did
Virginia
it.
double triple.
They 100% did it.
And that was egregious. Okay.
Excommunicate them. Hit them with sanctions.
Now, for Jazzy's challenge about whether or not we land Phillips, who said yeah?
I said no. I think Mike G said no, and then would C? Do you and I say yeah? Just to keep it even?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we did that just to cover all our bases, Jazzy. Yeah, we did that. All right. Yeah. All right. Just making sure you guys can talk about that should you go live tomorrow.
We're going live tomorrow, baby. He's coming. Let's go. Julian Phillips, best squad in the country next year. And we're going to Cancun to watch it in action in November. Watch out, man. I'm telling you, Auburn basketball is going to be a thing for the next decade. Just get used to it. And unlike Gonzaga, we're going to actually win one when we get there.
Yikes.
So I'm just saying.
Mark Few is a fraud. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes, put him on the bubble list.
Hey,
hey, honorable mention. Come on, bro.
Basketball is a different monster, man. But basketball is way too fickle. There are coaches who we think are actually legit coaches that win one every like 8-9 years because basketball is tough.
Coach K.
But come on, man. They've been to 2 in the last like 6 and haven't won it. Number 1 overall seed got put out in the round of 16. Come on, man. Bums. Bums. I don't care. I'm
not touching that.
Has there been a more consistently overrated team in college basketball than Gonzaga?
Kentucky.
Kansas.
Are we sure? Kansas? They just won it.
Did they just win it?
Yeah, they just won.
They just won it.
Bill Self won one. He won the last one in what, 2008? Was it 2008?
I would have.
They got one in the last 10 years. They got another one in the last 2 years.
I would have said North. I would have said North Carolina, but
I don't remember when they won it. So forgive me for throwing you out there, Bill Self. But I think they're pretty consistently overrated.
Yeah.
Anyway, whatever. We can talk about that later.
Yeah. Guys, you know what to do. Please, if you're watching still here, Share this video on social media using hashtag Get Your
Oh,
Weight
wait.
Up. Smash the like button, please. Guys, be nice. Hit the like button. All right, like this. It's great. It's good content. Like it. All right. Show us that you like it. Also, interact with us on social media. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at the War Rapport. We are TW Rapport on TikTok. That's it for now, guys, but we'll definitely got more content on the way. Stay tuned just in case there's an announcement tomorrow that goes Auburn's way. Be on the lookout, but until then, enjoy the rest of your evening. And as always, War Eagle.
War Eagle.